excited to be here today. This is an absolutely gorgeous event, and I can't think about a group I would rather speak to than up-and-coming female talent in business. I mean, it's inspiring to me. So hopefully I can give you guys just a little bit of inspiration today for some pearls of wisdom. So I call this session Some Life Lessons from a Non-Trepreneur. I'll tell you a little bit why I call myself a non-trepreneur in a moment. But hopefully you can just hear a few stories from me, and hopefully they'll inspire you they're all about my road to being a successful entrepreneur. And hopefully you can take some of it and use it. Okay, so hi. I'm Carrie, and I'm an entrepreneur. I want to tell you what that means. Essentially, my husband and I founded a company together in 2007. I'll tell you a little bit about the story as we go along. But I did it, starting with my husband. And one thing that I found really interesting was that even though the original idea was mine, and even though I had a lot of energy and enthusiasm, I never considered myself the entrepreneur. I let my husband, who is brilliant and fabulous, take the head, entrepreneurial risk-taker role, and I kind of was the operator. And I really lived up to that role. I operated the business. I grew it from starting out of our living room with absolutely no funds to a $4.7 million business just last year. We did it through blood, sweat, and tears, and really just growing and going. But I never, ever considered myself an entrepreneur. I just read a book by Meg, I believe it's Meg Hirschberg. She's the wife of the founder of Stony Hill Farms. And it's called For Better or For Work. And it's about entrepreneurs who work together, or couples, how couples live during entrepreneurial times. And I didn't identify with her really because she was the wife of this very successful entrepreneur who put everything on the table, right? He put everything on the table. He risked everything. He lived in a farmhouse with like 50 people and did everything he could to build Stony Hill Farms. So I didn't identify with her, but I didn't really identify with him either. Because when I started my business, I already had babies. I wasn't going to take a crazy, crazy risk to the point where I didn't need to work, I didn't need to do anything. I always needed to be like a calculated risk taker. I never considered myself an entrepreneur. And just last week, as we've grown, I met with my husband, and he said, I think it's time that we take the business, and we're going to take the agency side, which is what we do. We help companies succeed in social media. We teach them, and then we manage their communities for them. And you're going to take that, and you're going to grow that. And I'm going to focus on the tech side of our business. I'm going to really make sure that we have a platform that small businesses and people who couldn't afford agencies could do this. You're going to run this. We're going to make you, you're not COO anymore. You're not Chief Life Officer, which is an imaginary term. You're going to be president, and you're going to go, and you're going to run this. And I started really to shake. I'm not an entrepreneur. I'm not an entrepreneur. I'm not somebody who comes up with 50 million ideas every second and risking my house and everything under the sun to do this. I said, that's not me. I'm not as talented as that. And that was really, as it came out of my mouth, I thought about it, and I said, what are you talking about? As women, we have to have the confidence to say, yes, not every risk I take. No, I'm not going to take out a triple mortgage on my house and put my children at risk to go after this business. But I'm going to be really smart about how I approach this business. My husband said to me, an entrepreneur doesn't have to be somebody who comes up with 50 million ideas every second. You need to have a good idea, and you need to have a plan and a vision for making that idea into a reality. So I am changing my perspective of being a non-entrepreneur to actually shedding my fear and calling myself an entrepreneur. So I'm going to share some tales from entrepreneurhood today as we go along. Okay, one of the reasons I'm so scared to say I'm an entrepreneur is that taking risks was not in my DNA. I grew up in Queens, New York, love it. Queens! Down the street from Fran Drescher, Danny, I really did. I had to take voice and articulations and not talk like this every minute. I'm telling you right now, I'm not even kidding. So my parents were both people who believed in security. They believed that security and stability was the most important thing that we could have because we needed to protect our family. My dad, who was one of the most brilliant lawyers you ever saw in your life, brilliant, went into private practice, freaked out, couldn't handle it, fine. He immediately became a judge. incredible judge, steady paycheck, knew his hours, pension, never had to worry about a thing. My mother, brilliant, brilliant social worker, brilliant, brilliant. Went to marital counseling, hated it, could not stand to have to get customers, have to build her own business, no way. Went into the school system, became a social worker in the school system, loved it. Taking risks was not in my DNA at all, but taking risks is what has brought me to any level of success in my life. If I trace back to every decision that I have made, any time I have taken a risk, even when that risk hasn't worked out in the way I thought it would, it is always for the better. So I say, take risks. The greater the risk, the greater the reward. I like to take calculated risks because of my DNA, but take risks. Be obsessed with learning. You are learning from the moment you're born to the moment you die. You are always, always learning. And as an entrepreneur, never assume that you know everything. Barely assume that you know anything. Learn from everyone. I can learn more from all of you in the room than I can learn from, the highest of high professors sometimes. It really depends. It's who you make a connection with. And because you're open to learning from everyone, then you will be all the better for it. When I think of my story of being obsessed with learning, I think of my 3:30 a.m. coming home from college. I walked in the door, my roommates were all drunk and passed out on the floor, and I was like, I just came home from a really exciting marketing club, and I learned all about, we're going to launch Lexus, and it's going to be a really great event, it's going to be so fabulous. I was obsessed with learning as a kid. I continue to be obsessed with learning today. Continue your love of learning. Next piece of advice. Okay, always find a way to give back in everything that you do. This is so good for your soul and good for your business, okay? I write thank you notes every day. Every day, in this age of email, and I work in social media, you would think I would just tweet a thank you. There's no need to write a thank you note, right? Thanks, bye, 140 characters. No, I write a thank you note every single day because a thank you note allows me to give gratitude to people who have helped me. I'm going to tell you the story of how our company was founded now and tell you how a little bit of gratitude really worked out quite well for us as an organization. So, my husband and I, hope you like this story, we both came from marketing backgrounds. So at the time I was a salesperson, I was a sales manager at a radio station. I had worked on the brand side prior to this. My husband also was a salesperson in media. And we decided we wanted to get married. My husband wanted everyone he's ever known to come to our wedding. Legitimately, if he were here speaking to you, he'd be like, and we were getting married, so he'd be like, okay, you're all invited, come to the wedding, it's going to be great. He was like a group, major group, like literally. People from the first grade, he'd call them up, Teddy Palazzo, I'll never forget. Teddy Palazzo, you absolutely have to come to my wedding. I know we haven't spoken in 15 years. Weird. It's weird. I recognize it's weird. So this was before Facebook, before you would be connected to Teddy Palazzo, because now if you go to nursery school with someone, you're Facebook besties with them for life, and you're connected, and that has pros and cons, and we'll talk about that another time. But you wanted to invite everyone who's ever met. Now I had been married before I got married at a very young age, had a very fancy New York wedding that failed miserably. Marriage failed miserably. And I said, how are we going to do this? I'm not asking my parents to fund a wedding for 500 people of your closest friends and family. What are we going to do? We both came from a marketing background, and we said, you know what? I have an idea. We knew we both loved baseball, and we knew that Keith Span Park at the time, which was in Coney Island, the Brooklyn Cyclones. Any of you ever been there, Brooklyn Cyclones? Yes. I recommend it happens. It's fabulous. Beautiful setting. We had an idea. We could go to the Brooklyn Cyclones, and we said, okay, we have a crazy idea. We're going to call this Our Field of Dreams. We're going to bring in sponsors to your game. The sponsors at the game, instead of like Pepsi tossing t-shirts at a baseball game, 1-800-Flowers is going to toss the cake. Everything's going to be wedding themed, and all you have to do is let us get married on the baseball field, and then they have to let all of these sponsors who are a part of the game sponsor our wedding, so that we'll have no cost, and all they have to do is donate to charity. Now, at the time, I did that because I was terrified of negative press. I was terrified that we were going to be seen as a tacky, sponsored wedding, gross, look what they're doing kind of couple, right? Opportunists. That's why I started it. We started to get all this press, and it turned out CNBC, World News, ABC World News Tonight, it was like the largest press event for all of those sponsors, 1-800-Flowers, everybody. I think it's 1-800-Flowers, largest press event to date. All the press was positive. It because of the fact that we gave that money. I wasn't sure. But I will tell you that we raised $100,000 for sponsorships, getting everything sponsored for the whole game, and we raised $20,000 for charity at a time where I would never have been able to give $20,000 to a charity. There are a lot of things that I remember about that wedding day. It was the start of our business. It was the moment where all of those great clients that we did all those press events for said, "This was amazing, do it again!" And we were like, can't get married again. What are we going to do? Let's start a company, yay! And so, there was a lot of things I remember. I remember marrying the love of my life. I remember watching this beautiful event. I remember feeling completely enthralled by the press that was there and watching them cover it in a positive way, watching all of my dreams come true. But the thing I remember the most was the ability to give back in a way that I would never have been able to give back before. Give back in any capacity. Volunteer your time, give $1, do whatever you've got, because it feels good and it will help drive you in success. Let your gut drive you. So I told you I was married before I started my business. And got married and started my business. So we didn't start the day we got married. So we had gotten married, newlyweds. I had a 3-year-old daughter. We were working for I was living there 2 months. I worked out in West Babylon in Long Island, which you know from Queens is like a nasty commute, an hour and a half. And I would drop my daughter off at 7:30 in the morning, and one day she grabbed my leg and she said, "Don't go." I looked down at her and I said, "Okay." I didn't go. And at the time I said, am I choosing my family? Am I going to be a total failure as a woman? What am I going to do here? Because I was balancing the business and I was balancing the parenting. I was balancing all of it. But actually, that is what fueled the start of our business. I said, oh crap, I got to make money somehow. I went in the next day, I said, I quit, I can't do it, I can't do the hour-and-a-half commute, it's not working for me, they couldn't do telecommuting, bye, done. Okay, I come home, I say, no, I've got to start something. I took one of the clients from the wedding and launched it, needed a very little amount of money, doing kind of word-of-mouth marketing for them. Again, social hadn't yet hit where it needed to hit to be at a mass scale. But I trusted my gut. Trust your gut. Again, it's an example of taking risks. Listen to your gut. Listen to it, because it's right, most of the time. Okay, so this one, create a personal board of advisors, is one of my favorite things to tell young women. So when I was working on the brand side, I worked at Polaroid, which is now like basically extinct. You guys probably don't even know from Polaroid, but I launched a huge kids camera called the ISO that had sticky film, and it was a cute little thing. It was adorable. And it grew, and it was great, and I loved it. And I got a call from somebody I used to intern for at Radio Disney. She said to me, "I have news for you." And I said, "What's the news?" And she said, "You're not a brand person." And I said, "What do you mean?" She goes, "You don't belong in a box at a brand. You don't belong launching a company. You're a salesperson." Now remember, I'm very risk averse, right? So you know this about me now. I said, "What do you mean? Sales needs commission. I don't know if I can do it. How would I do it?" And lo and behold, she said, "You're going to do it, and I'm going to build it for you so that you can do it. I'll give you a draw against commission and a salary that you'll earn back, and don't worry about it because you're going to sell the heck out of this company. You're going to sell." So I said, okay. I went. It was the best decision I ever made. I was the #1 salesperson at Radio Disney nationally, and I did it because somebody had faith in me. That person is someone I call on the regular when I have a question, because that person gets me and is invested in my future, and you all need 2 to 3 to 4, if you've got them, mentors who you can call at a moment's notice and say, "What do you think about this? What do you think about this?" Get yourself a personal board of advisors. Regret nothing. Nothing. Not the biggest mistake you make. Let me tell you something. When we were at our company, we had a huge client boo-boo. A client boo-boo that was so bad, we accidentally tweeted something out that shouldn't have been tweeted. Okay? It was bad. It caught the press. It was 48 hours. It was like the worst 48 hours of my life. I was hysterical. I couldn't believe it. It was a total accident. It was portrayed as not an accident. What do I do? Oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. That's something that would be very hard to not regret, right? Except that we weathered through that storm. We took responsibility for the error. We said, we made a boo-boo, and we made a big boo-boo. And here's what we are doing as an agency. We came out, nobody knew who we were. Everyone just knew who the brand was. It looked like the brand are. We made a big boo-boo. It was us. By the way, here are the steps that we're taking to fix it. Here are the steps that we're taking to ensure that we are a better agency. And let me tell you something. We are 10 times the agency that we were then. I wanted to run risk-averse. I was like, we're going to be sued, this is horrendous. I was so scared from this mistake. This mistake fueled us to be a better agency. Make no regrets at all. Everything in life is fine. It always ends up fine. Regret nothing. Take risks and regret nothing. Listen to the whispers. This is an Oprah saying. I don't know if any of you watch Oprah. She's old news now, but on her network, Oprah says to listen to the whispers. This is a lot about trust your gut. And I had a whisper just last year. My dad was sick. Our company was growing rapidly. Rapidly. You don't grow from 0 to $4.7 million in that short a period of time without having a massive amount of growing pains and without having every minute needing to be there. My dad was really sick. And I knew, because I had actually asked the doctor when he was diagnosed with cancer what the percentage was. And my dad had originally asked him, he said, do you really want to know? And he said, no, I don't want to know. So I ran back upstairs and asked, and I knew it was 20%. I knew he had no shot. I knew. So towards the end, he was about to have a CAT scan, and I knew it was going to be bad because I was watching him. And I heard a whisper, and the whisper said, stop. Stop for a little bit. The company's going to go on without you. The world's going to go on without you. At the same time, I had a pitch with a little brand you might know called Old Navy. Old Navy would be like my dream. Social media for Old Navy? Come on, I'm an Old Navy girl, I'm not fancy, yes. So Old Navy was like my biggest dream ever. So I said, this would be such a great brand, I gotta do it, and they wanted me to come out to San Francisco. But I listened to the whisper, and I didn't go. And I didn't want Old Navy, and I didn't care. You gotta listen to the whispers. My dad passed away maybe 3 weeks after that, and I didn't have a shred of regret for one thing I did. So you gotta really, really listen and weigh the risk, weigh the reward, and just trust yourself. Finally, as a non-risk taker, I will tell you, you gotta learn to love the roller coaster. There's a great movie, which is too old for you guys, called Parenthood, and there is a grandma talking to her son-in-law. And she says, some people like the merry-go-round. That just goes round and round and round, and you know what to expect. I like the roller coaster. Entrepreneurship is a giant, giant roller coaster. You will have big successes. You will have big failures. You will have a moment where you think that your world is going to fall apart, that you need to close up shop, and 2 seconds later, you are going to be at the top of your game. Learn to love the roller coaster. It's what makes entrepreneurship great. Don't fear it. Take risks and just go.